Hey everybody, I'm Jody Vance.
And I'm George-affleck.
And it's time for...
I want my vaccine. UnSpun.
I like it. And it's musical. So that gives us an opportunity to plug your son's new album that just dropped.
Oh, yeah. Hey, I'm very, very proud of my 19-year-old son. His first album, full album, with his band, Farhaven. The album's called Matchstick. And it's really a great album, I must say. I mean,
I like it too. I really like it. I have to tell you. I listened to it. I saw it on your Facebook page when you posted it, and I immediately tagged a couple of friends who love that genre of music. So props to Pierce,
our theme writer who wrote our theme for our show.
Right.
And and played it. And yeah, it's interesting. He's writing a column on how he made an album during COVID, like how they were able to do it. Because one of the guys in the band has asthma, and that whole process of making music when you can't play live, you can't really. They did a lot of stuff using Zoom. They met whenever they could. And then they did a lot of stuff independently and then mixed it later. So it's a really unique process that they had to go through as a band. And they're just hungry to go live. They want to go play live because that's what a band does. So COVID, get this over with. Get me my vaccine.
Let's get this over. Let's get our vaccines. There you go. There's the segue, George. Okay, so everybody's talking about vaccine procurement. Last week on the podcast, you and I were talking about, I was a little bit ranty about why we don't have the ability to domestically produce vaccine. And then, of course, in the days that followed, UnSpun, they're listening to us clearly. Because you had mentioned that there was one facility being built in Quebec, in Montreal.
Yes.
But now there are investments in future manufacturing vaccine facilities, one in Saskatchewan and one here in British Columbia. Certainly they won't be ready for years to come, but as many people point out, we're going to have COVID-27 and COVID-32 and COVID-45. Like, there's going to be more of this.
Okay, that's depressing.
But hopefully we'll be able to dial it back by going, here's your booster. Here's the booster for that mutation of...
I'm losing faith, I must say. I'm losing faith in the process. We talked about this a year ago. It's been almost a year since we started talking about COVID, or more than a year probably. The one thing that Bill Gates, who many people hate and all these conspiracy theories, but the one thing he said, and he put a lot of money into this, was facilities for manufacturing. He said that has to be the priority. Coming up with the science and the vaccine, ironically or interestingly, he kind of was the easy part because of technology. What he said then was all countries need to be 100% ready to manufacture. And Canada didn't do that. We bought all these, we put our money down on 200 million doses of various, we just bought in on every single vaccine that was being worked on. Unfortunately, because of that, we spread our money too thin, and we're way behind now. Whereas in England, they doubled down on their manufacturing and their product, which we can talk about in a bit. But I'm really disappointed because I think it was so clear a year ago. We talked about it on this podcast about manufacturing was the key to getting this thing. The rollout of this whole process was key. And I think clearly we're failing. In fact, it's interesting because Germany we thought would be doing quite well. They're doing as badly as we are as far as distribution and getting their vaccines out. And that press conference by Trudeau and saying we'll have vaccines in our own manufacturing starting by the end of this year. That's just a bit depressing. I really don't want to hear that right now. I always want to know when I'm getting my vaccine right now for this one. And before it was March, then it was July, and now we're looking at September. I mean,
I'm with you. I'm with you on that. And how many times do we talk about transparency on UnSpun podcast? I mean, seriously, this is what we...
This is spin.
It is
this
spin.
Is spin that the Prime Minister's doing. Spin.
It's spin that is detrimental to the populace. Because I could see people, in my mind's eye, I can visualize a war room where they're like, you know what we'll do to mitigate panic over this? The fact that we're not going to have vaccines where, the United States that didn't have any rollout plan of any kind until January 6th is now like getting it to pharmacies. Like there are people that are just like, yep, I got my shot. And, here we are in Canada where we've been like the good kid. And we're being told you know what? We're going to, you know what? It's just a little bit of a
It's
problem right
coming.
now
It's
with
coming.
Pfizer. And then, and today's news, as we are recording this, there is news about Moderna now, that there's a disruption in supply. These are words we're getting all too familiar with. The reality is there's something else going on here, because there's no disruption in supply for those vaccines to hit right south of the border here. So why Canada? Why?
They're doing 2 million, looking at 2 million doses a day in the States soon. That's what they're predicting now. So they'll be done in 100 days. I mean, it's like, that's 3 months. They'll be done. So, I mean, we're looking at September, best case scenario. Worst case, a year from now. I don't know.
We're dipping into the COVAX supply. That's the like the third world country supply. Like,
yeah,
why, when we have six,
we're betraying a deal we had. Yeah, that's bad.
When we have 6 vaccines or 10 vaccines per Canadian or whatever the number was that is being tossed around, which made us hopeful. At one point, we were being called hoarders here in Canada, and now we have the infrastructure set up to vaccinate. We just don't have the vaccines.
I know, and we'll be hoarders once this is all over, and we have all this supply of this product that nobody needs and we don't need. I mean, certainly, I would imagine if we oversupply, that's when we'll provide that extra to those other third world countries. But
of course we will,
it's bad politics to right now to take away what you promised to those countries that are can't do what we can do in this country. And so it's all this awful situation where of course I want my vaccine, as I said at the top. I want my vaccine. But I also don't want to be not Canadian.
Right.
Which is a bit what that decision was. It's very un-Canadian to sort of betray a deal you had with the international communities.
But this morning I was listening to Deputy Prime Minister, Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland. She was in question period saying that this has been part of our plan all along. It's like,
yeah.
Really? Classic. I have great respect for Chrystia Freeland as a politician. I've always kind of felt like even in the toughest of times, she has said the difficult truth. And today was the first time that I went, what?
Yeah. And also, by the way, Chrystia Freeland, when's our budget coming? Because it's budget time. This will be 2 years without a budget.
Don't apples and orange me now. I've got other things I want to talk about with vaccines.
She's not doing her job. She's not doing her job.
In a pandemic. Anyways. AstraZeneca, let's talk a little bit about AstraZeneca, because there's news about this today. And everybody was like, when is the AstraZeneca going to be approved in Canada? And now there are countries in the EU who are putting forward, some have said, we're not using that vaccine at all. Some have said, we're only using that vaccine for people under the age of 65. And other countries have said, we're only using it for people under the age of 55, to which, like, that piqued my ear, because it's like we've all been waiting for AstraZeneca to come online, and I'm like, is it because it's dangerous for the older people, or how does that work? No, it's an efficacy issue. It's not as efficient or effective in that demographic, which is concerning, obviously. And then I mentioned that to you, and you're like, Amanda's parents had the AstraZeneca.
I said my in-laws, they got the shot a couple weeks ago now. And all of England, all over 50s year olds in England will have their vaccine by April 7th.
Say that again?
Anybody over 50 will have had their vaccine by April 7th in England. So, and that's the AstraZeneca one that they got. That story came out after they got their shot. So you're kind of going, okay. But you also go, is this politics? I mean, the whole Brexit thing in Europe and the amount of money that England might be, I don't know. Is there something else going on that we don't understand?
Okay, wait a minute. The AstraZeneca vaccine is from England.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, sorry, but doing the unspun, right, but not everybody is as familiar with that as you are, George. Like, okay, so Brexit, EU versus England, the UK, like,
I don't know. Is there something going on that we don't understand? I mean, I don't know why. Even if, so you choose under 55s, I go for it. I mean, I don't understand why you will betray your citizens a solution to a problem like that. But, I think that it obviously is concerning, but, I'm under 65, so bring on over the AstraZeneca. Get it over here.
Right. Bring it all. I'm one shot in on Pfizer. I'm 20, yes. I'm 17 days away from the 42 days.
What's going to happen?
I don't know, but if my dad gets it, I'll be happy. So like we're one step closer. And if I need 2 shots in 6 months, then I need 2 shots in 6 months. I just need to protect the people.
Is that what happens?
I don't know. I don't know. Oh. I don't know. They're saying that if you had COVID-19 before and you got 1 shot, you might be fully like to the 96th percentile of immunity anyway, because one's a primer and one's a booster, right? Like the 2 shots are sparking your immune system in that way. So who knows, George? Honestly, I'm just going on faith here. I'm going to, when they say come and get it, I'm going to go, okay, right here, please. Because I had no side effects, so I don't really feel...
I've read an article today in the New York Times about the side effects on the second shot can be, not terrible. And I think it was an op-ed piece in the New York Times, and the guy, it was first person, and he was a husband and wife, I think, and he said, I'd rather have this because he had a lot of nausea, felt like he had the flu. Really, his arm was super inflamed, but he said, "Hey, I'll take this over getting." Right. COVID.
Getting COVID. So same. Like if I have to, I'll try and do it on a day that I don't, or I'll try and make it so that I don't have anything big to do in the next 24 to 36 hours after getting the shot, which is what I did the first time. And I literally was sitting there waiting for something to happen. And I get a flu shot every year. It was less than a flu shot.
Yeah. Not like the chickenpox shot. That you got.
Yeah. Shingrix was not my friend.
Shingrix.
Yeah. I haven't gotten the booster of that. I'm a little bit afraid of it, I got to tell you. Oh. Well, because COVID hit, and I'm like, well, if my reaction is worse for the booster and it's COVID, I don't want to be getting the Shingrix shot and then needing to go to the emergency room.
So what's the time frame for that? You can do the booster shot whenever?
I don't know. It's supposed to be within 6 months, I think. But I don't know. If I have to get them both again,
we're not doctors, and we don't play one on the podcast.
Clearly, we're not doctors. Okay, but what we do have are kids in school, so
yes,
we can talk about this.
I'm very good at doctoring if it's involving a Band-Aid. That's about it.
But masks in school. What are your thoughts?
Masks in school
on the news? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about you, but my kid goes to school downtown, and they're already kind of following the rules that they announced, which was basically, if you're seated, you don't have to wear the mask. The teacher has to wear the mask all the time. Anytime you're up, you have to wear the mask. All ages have to wear masks. Yeah. So nobody gets away with that. But that's he's in elementary school. So he wears his mask. He doesn't wear his mask when he's seated. They basically follow that rule at his school. And I think most schools are following that rule. I think sometimes it's hard with little kids, especially the younger they are, to remember to put the mask on, and they go to the bathroom and they're, oh my God, my mask. But, or showing up, or, you get your lunch kit, you got your mask, you got this, you got that. So one more thing to the checklist in the morning.
That's the last thing I say.
Is that the dirty one?
Yeah. Right. Oh, yeah. Totally. You got your cleaning program. Actually, I need to double check on that.
I know. I want to clean every day, and so does he. But some kids wear them 2 days in a row, and I'm like,
no. No. Okay, let's unspin that. You don't wear it 2 days in a row. You don't even wear it in the morning and then take it off and then put it back on. You got to be able to rotate. I mean, with these variants, I think that's what's sparking this is even finding, we've been touch wood so far in BC, quite lucky that the variants that have been discovered on Vancouver Island and the interior and Vancouver Coastal Health, all of them, save for, I think, 2, can be connected to travel. Either it's like a close contact to or connected to travel. So it appears that for the most part, by and large, people are following the quarantine to the extent that this is contained, because you look just next door in Alberta and that's not the case. But if it's...
Other provinces are seeing a quicker decline right now than we are, but we didn't see the kind of peaks, the numbers that they saw.
But I'm talking about variants before we go there. Oh, okay. Just on the variants, because I think that connects to the scope. But I do want to get to that. That's
I don't know. I think there might be a union thing going on here too, though.
Okay.
I don't know. Well, the variance is one thing, but I feel like depending on the school, it seems like the teachers' union has been very hardcore, saying we need more strict rules, we need this, we need that. Otherwise, we shouldn't be in the schools, because every other province, Ontario, they weren't in school. They haven't been in school.
Right. But that's a community spread versus, which is the part for like your school exposure and your school risk reflects the community, right? So that's why we're seeing up in Kamloops right now, the community spread is more intense there. Therefore, we're seeing more school exposures. But then when you start talking about, there was the school in Maple Ridge that they thought a student there had the UK variant, I believe. As it turns out, that test positive was not a variant positive, which they did the full genome on, whatever. Again, not a physician. But I think in the way I'm reading this announcement on masks and the confirmation that this is how it should be, like you said, for the most part, it's how it's been, but reiterating the mandate or the suggestion, if we don't want to use the word mandate. I think for me, it feels connected to the variant where people are starting to talk about, do you wear 2 masks? Is it 3-ply? Do you wear a disposable mask underneath your cloth mask? Like, all of these things are starting to become more dominant in the conversation. I totally see where you're coming from where the union is concerned, because I don't believe that I've heard Terry Mooring in the BC Teachers Federation president. I don't think I've heard her for the last year where she didn't say we need schools to be safer for teachers and students, because our district, your district, my district feels pretty safe, but there are districts in BC where it's just not. And Terry is certainly fighting for all of them.
Yeah, and actually, we were surprised. We talked about this a few weeks ago, how each district has different rules and different timings. And Vancouver actually has very, very minimal times for high schools, which is they've ramped up recently, I think. But elementary schools have been quite normal here.
This week,
but is that right? So I guess that must skew the data quite a lot if you have each district doing something different.
Can I take this opportunity to point out that you were absolutely right there? Like it wasn't even a George fact. It was an actual fact.
Hey!
No, but you said it to me and I was like, no, I don't know. That's not. And you're like, I think so. And then like right after the podcast, I'm like, oh, damn it. He was right. God. No, but it's good intel. Like, because I didn't realize that just
100% correct. George facts are always correct in my mind. In my mind.
But even like the school district, like right over there is full-time face-to-face. Yeah. My kid is super not full-time face-to-face. He's like 90 minutes at school total. Sometimes not even that. And so now it's becoming more, but I didn't realize there are districts all around us that the hours of in-class instruction, and maybe that has something to play into on the mask mandate as well, is that I don't know. We're going to find out.
So many variants on the variants of the variants. It's funny though. Anybody who gets a couple of people I know have got peripherally got COVID, and I don't know how I got. I don't know how I got it. I've been following all. It must be that new variant. It must be because I must have caught it like that's 5 minutes in a lineup or something. And of course, it turns out no, you have the normal thing, and you went and did something. A lot of them can't figure out how they got it. Most people, it seems like it's lineups more than anything. So it's really hard to figure out. Although they do say, and this one friend who thought he was the carrier, now they think that it was his son who got it one day after him, but they think maybe it was him because, he didn't have any symptoms and he didn't really get sick at all. But he did get tested positive, and in fact, the whole family ended up having COVID. Every single person, and it was interesting the degrees at which some were like no symptoms, some were like out for 2 weeks, but the kids were totally fine. He was actually really excited because he got to stay in his room for 2 weeks playing on his computer because what else could you do? Which he got for Christmas. And he's like, awesome.
Great. Gaming. Nonstop Minecraft server.
So, bringing it back to the schools, that they're carriers, but they don't have symptoms. And so maybe, that's a good reason to step up the rules a bit for those schools that aren't following them. But I just feel like the school that my kids at seem pretty strict.
Yeah, as does mine. And really the kids, my son's in grade 8. So high school, which is different than elementary school, where the mandate is all common areas and they have separate entrances and exits and the cohorts are really tight. Like I'm really impressed with how tightly they keep the groups of 30. Like it's so over the course of 4 quarters, there will be 120 if those mix and match, but a lot of them are similar groups, but still enough of a change that there is socialization, because also really important. But all of them really do wear their masks for the most part. And when I ask my boy about it, he's like, because I'll forget it if I take it off and I won't handle it properly and it'll, and then it'll work against me. So I'll just leave it on. It's comfortable. He kind of digs it. Most of them look like camouflage. It feels like cool.
It's a fashion statement now.
Well, I mean, I got to say, when I'm going out and I have to, run to the grocery store, I'm going down the street for whatever. And I'm like, oh, I should probably, put myself together. And then I realize I'm just putting a mask on. Hood, toque, mask, glasses.
It's a dream come true.
Yeah. As soon as I talk, people are like, Jody Vance? Oh, I should mention our Twitter at George__Affleck. George_Affleck. One of the best follows on Twitter, I might add. I'm at Jody Vance, Jody with a Y, Vance. Follow me on Twitter. I get all fired up about stuff. I don't often swear on Twitter, but yesterday, and we should have mentioned this in our discussion here, but it was the new Skip the Dishes or DoorDash or whatever. I think it's Skip the Dishes is adding a 99-cent BC fee to their deliveries now because,
really?
And I'm like,
because of the 50% rule, right?
Yeah. So pick up your food. We'll talk more about that.
I always pick up.
And for those who can't, I get it. But for those who can, go get your damn food because you're costing the restaurant a ton of money.
Yeah.
Ton of money, party time, excellent. Wayne's World.
Oh my God. Seriously, this guy, the Telus building, penthouse, several parties, 100 people. They caught them because they ordered burgers. They ordered 100 burgers. And that's how they really got in, figured out there was something big going on. But the neighbors were complaining, I assume, as well. But, the videos and the people and the screaming and the yelling and the chaos.
I've never been arrested before.
And he was hiding. And he was hiding behind his chair. Or the guy who was having the party is like, oh my God, this is it's pathetic and laughable, but also terrible at the same time. It's like, what are you doing? I know you want to party. If I was 21 years old, I would be really frustrated right now too, because I'd be thinking, where's all my fun? Going to clubs, that's what you do. But for God's sakes, you're killing people. I mean, Come on. Killing people. What else can I say? That's what you're doing. Kids will be kids.
You're bang on. I don't even know what to say beyond that. You're killing people. That is it. At this point of wave 2, in the depths of this, we're this close with light at the end of the tunnel, and you're going to just kill people.
Yeah,
because you can't not
we're under 500 now 5 days in a row. So we're seeing a good decline. We're seeing good numbers, but a lot of people still dying. But you see the efficacy of the even in England, you're seeing the death rate go way down and the percentage way down. So it's like, okay, it's working. It's working.
It is working in long-term care homes right here. I was going back because the reason why I'm getting vaccinated is I'm essential care for my dad. So I was speaking with my coordinator yesterday about things related to dad. And I asked about when's the second shot and what have you. And I'm like, okay, well, as long as they're safe. And she's like, well, obviously they're going to have all the residents get their second shot as a priority. And I'm like, great. I want that. And she goes, but already we've seen a massive decline in issues because my dad's home is part of a larger umbrella of companies of care home across the country. And that's the really great news here now we just needed to get into, as your in-laws have enjoyed in the UK, is having it come to them. Like my mom and my stepdad, who are both cancer survivors in their 80s, they're next. And they're the ones that I don't want them to have to wait until the end of April. Like, let's go. Let's go.
100%.
So when you're talking about the decline in cases, you were saying this earlier when I said, can you get to that in a second? Because I want to talk about the variants. Can you reference what you were mentioning with regard to seeing sort of happening across Canada?
That's right. In Ontario and Alberta are seeing a much bigger flattening than we are. But we also never shut down our restaurants. We never shut down our schools. We never, except for the first period of time. Yeah. So we've actually kept our lives more than anywhere else in Canada somewhat normal, given the circumstances. Like the restaurants being open, they're just opening up restaurants in Ontario. They've had much more drastic measures, like you're seeing in Australia now. I'm like, they're locked down again for one case. They locked the whole place down for 6 weeks. So I think that it's I don't know what that means. I think that I think that that's always been the challenge that Dr. Bonnie's tried to this balance of trying to give you some kind of lifestyle. While also locking down as much as possible. So providing you the responsibility. So that guy doing that party to tell us, like, come on, I want to be able to go to a restaurant if I want to take that kind of opportunity. And the restaurants are really, really doing a great job. There's been a few cases, but generally they don't want to be shut down. So they've been really strict about the rules, and they're very careful when they have this whole process. When you walk in and you sit down, and they tell you the whole process. And so, I think that we tried to have this balance, and it may have led to more cases than perhaps we should have, and maybe more deaths. But I think that, and now we're not seeing a decline as fast from the 500. But there's all the other issues that we talk about, the psychological issues of this pandemic on us, and the suicides, and all these horrible things that are secondary, but horrible of the results. And so, I think in her role as the chief medical officer is to kind of weigh those odds and go, okay, we need to give people some freedom and some feeling of having a life, so that they don't become too cocooned and the emotions take over or whatever.
Anxiety. I have so many really great friends and family members who have never suffered from any sort of mental health issues and struggles, who have literally had, like, just in the last few weeks, there have been multiple people close to me who have required 24-hour heart monitors just to double check, like getting their blood work done, getting it all, and all thankfully are healthy, all also diagnosed with anxiety, severe anxiety. So that's a reality that we're dealing with. We've only got like 4 minutes to go here, and I don't even know if we can cover this next topic in 4 minutes, but you hit it. Tell me what is happening with Strathcona Park now.
Ugh, don't get me started.
Please start.
I mean, a woman who, it's so like kind of weird in a way, because this woman was attacked in her home up in East Vancouver, not even that close to Strathcona, but it turns out one of the guys was living in Strathcona. They tracked him down to Strathcona. She died. This woman died yesterday. She was attacked and she sadly died. Horrible. Home invasion. 2 dudes go in, beat her.
Dressed like police officers.
Dressed like police officers. They go to Strathcona. One of them live there. They're both in Strathcona in the park, hiding in their tent. The police learn this. They go there to get these guys, and the community puts up a wall and doesn't want them in there to apprehend these horrible, horrible people that have attacked a senior and killed them. I mean, it's beyond the pale of what is acceptable. And I can't, and you got the city councilors doing a little press conference, and the mayor not willing to go on camera. He did he sent out a press release, standing in front going, yes, now it's gone too far. What are you talking about? This is like, now we can connect 2 deaths, 3 deaths. How many more deaths does it take? We shut down Oppenheimer after we had some problems. They managed to clear it out like that over like a week. Get on it, clear that park out, stop this murders that are happening now. Murders. I mean, it's insane. This is I don't understand the logic and the unwillingness by Park Board, by the provincial government. I mean, we're waiting until April. How many more people will die before April because of this network of people that are creating a gangster life in this intense with guns and weapons and stolen goods? Yes, there are homeless people that are in terrible dark streets, but I'm guessing some of the people that are homeless are probably not very attracted to be living in that kind of environment, right, with those kinds of people there that are going to be out attacking senior citizens in their homes at 6 a.m. dressed up as cops. What is that? What is that? What is that? Is orchestrated criminal behavior, has nothing to do with homelessness. And the city and the Park Board need to get tough on this. Enough.
We're talking to the Park Board directly right now, because there are people on the Park Board who have been screaming for this to be fixed long ago. But the majority, Tricia Barker and John Cooper have been on this, and it is just astounding to me that there is any other agenda on the Park Board table. The people who have the majority vote, who could literally make this happen in 5 minutes, that they have absolutely anything on their agenda but to save the lives of those, and not to mention the community around Strathcona Park. Yeah. This is enough now. It's enough now.
The police had to get a warrant to go in to take murderers from a tent. I mean, it's bizarre. Anyways,
and who puts up the human wall? Like, stand with a bullhorn at the end of Strathcona Park and say, anybody here who really wants to be housed right now, form a line to my right. Grab your things, form a line to my right. I'm taking you to housing. Everybody left, out.
Yep.
Because the people that don't want to be housed just want to be activists, and the ones that don't want to be activists are criminals. Yes. Yeah. And I digress. I'm going to go to my kitschy light column that had a little bit of a message. How about Super Bowl?
Super Bowl, super party. No parties for you.
Just your home team. Keep it to your home team. Right? In your house. That's your bubble. Your home team, the people that live in your house, that's it. And if you are like, but I want to go, I miss my beer and my wings. Okay, so call your local today, not on Sunday at 1 p.m. Don't call them at 1. They're going to be busy getting stuff ready for everybody else, and pick up your chicken wings. You turn on your oven to 225. You put them on a cookie sheet. And if you don't have a cookie sheet, get one at the dollar store. Wear your mask. Go get it. It's $1. Put them on chicken wings on the cookie sheet. Tuck them in there. 225.
Get your Zoom. Get your Facebook Live. Whatever. Hook it up with your buddies. Put the computer beside you like it's your best friend.
Drink with your buddies.
Party virtually. You can still get drunk on your beer if you want.
And you can buy your beer from your local, which also helps your pub, so that next year on Super Bowl, we can all get sweaty shoulder to shoulder.
When Tom Brady is playing for, he'd be 80 years old, and he's still the best quarterback in the NFL. Uh-oh.
Go Chiefs.
God, I don't even know.
Well, you brought up Tom Brady, so brava. If you don't know anything about football, just root for the Kansas City Chiefs, because it's just unbelievably frustrating that Tom Brady can go to the worst team in the NFL and in one season during COVID bring them to the Super Bowl. If he wins this, oh God.
Leadership takes all kinds of abilities, and clearly he's a leader.
Clearly.
Mayor of Vancouver, take notes.
Bye, George.
I don't. Bye.